guest, Quintessence, who will be holding the this program. As you know, the program is consisted 5 sessions. We are going to have it almost, we are going to have it 3 times per week. The same link to join. The sessions will be recorded. This U.S. graduate school preparation program is organized by Education USA, and I hope you know about Education USA advising centers that support students like you who want to get higher education in the United States. And this program is specifically for those students who want to do master's and PhD program in the United States. So the session is going to be like the Quintessence will talk about the topic, and she will hold a presentation. Afterwards, you'll have enough time to ask questions. So with this, I would like to turn it over to Quintessence. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello and welcome everyone. Today I'll be talking to you about how to choose which universities you should apply to based on your specific priorities and needs. So just to give you an agenda of what I'll be talking about, first I'll just be giving a brief introduction of Education USA and what Education USA does, and an outline of what your search process could look like. And then we'll actually get started on your search process with a couple of minutes of self-reflection, then thinking about your priorities. After that, I'll talk about rankings for a little bit and how you can use them in your search for schools, colleges, or universities. And then I'll end the presentation with some resources and some other recommendations that you can use in your search. And then I'll take some questions at the end. So Education USA is a U.S. Department of State supported network. If you don't know already, it consists of over 400 centers in over 170 countries worldwide. And the goal of Education USA is to help students access U.S. higher education through accurate, unbiased, comprehensive, objective, and timely information and guidance on U.S. educational institutions. So Education USA offers a variety of services, including virtual consultations, virtual sessions with U.S. institutions, webinars, workshops, recommendation letter writing sessions, student visa sessions, and a U.S. higher education affair. And then a little bit more about me. I'm a current graduate student pursuing master's degrees in public administration and international education management. I'm also one of the Education USA Kazakhstan interns, so I'll be giving more sessions and presentations like this one throughout the summer, so including this week. So we have a couple more sessions this week, and then some next week, and some in July and August. And back at my university in California, I'm also a graduate research assistant studying international student experiences in the US. So before I start the presentation, I want to know a little bit more about the audience and who's here today. And you can type your answers in the chat. It should be really simple. If you're looking to apply to master's programs, including MBAs, you can type 1 in the chat, 2 for PhDs. And if you don't know yet, or if you're looking for something else, you can type 3. Okay. Okay, MA Political Science. That's cool. Okay, it's a good mix of MAs and PhDs and some people that aren't sure. It's perfectly okay. So I've been told that a lot of students in Kazakhstan pursue business and STEM. So if you are looking for business programs, can you type 1 in the chat, 2 for STEM, and 3 for something else? Okay, a lot more 3s than I thought. Okay, And then one in chat for if you've already started searching for universities, two if you haven't started yet. Okay, it looks like most people haven't started yet, but perfectly okay. It's why we're having the session. Good to see that at least a couple people have started already. Okay, so before you begin searching for universities to apply to, you'll first want to do a little self-reflection. You should be thinking about why you want a master's or a PhD degree first. And this is a question you will most likely be asked to answer either in your application or in your interview. You also want to think about why you want to study in the US or in America specifically, since there are plenty of other countries and plenty of other universities that you could choose to study at. You'll also want to determine your priorities and think about what you're looking for in a university. So, for example, you might want a university that has housing available for graduate and postgraduate students, or a university that has a well known program in your field of study or field of interest. And your priorities, your specific priorities, should influence the list of universities that you consider applying to. And then if you haven't done this already in your search process, you should do more research into the specific universities that you're thinking about applying to. So in addition to the program that you want to apply to, the program that you want to study under, you might also want to see what the university offers beyond that. So for example, you might want to look at any special services the university offers. So, for example, if you're really interested in study abroad, you might want to look at what study abroad programs they offer in what countries. If they offer professional development opportunities, you might want to look at what those kinds of opportunities are and what they look like. So I'll give everyone some time to think about how you would answer these questions, but I'll read them on the slide. The first is, why do you want to get an MA or a PhD? And what are you expecting to gain after you're receiving that degree? And what outcomes are you expecting? For me, I'm expecting to get the qualifications to be successful in my field, which is international education. And the reason why I applied for an MA degree was because a lot of the jobs that I want to pursue in my field require you to have a master's degree. And the next question is, what are your priorities? What is negotiable and what is not negotiable? So this means thinking about the things that your university must have and what things you would prefer, but are okay with not having. So, for example, when I was looking at universities, I knew that my university had to be in California. It couldn't be in Texas. It couldn't be in New York. It couldn't be outside of the US. It had to be in California. And this was something that was not negotiable. So any US outside of California, I was automatically not going to apply to. Something that was negotiable was public transportation. So I preferred a university that was in an area that had good public transportation. But this was something that I could live without. So it's something that's negotiable, something that I don't have to have. So you also want to look at and think about why you want to study in the US specifically, like I mentioned earlier. And you also want to have backup plans. You might have backup plans that you develop in case you are unable to study in the US or even in your specific dream university that you're thinking of applying to. So I'll give everyone just a few seconds to think about how you might answer these questions. Okay. So I'll give everyone just a little anecdote or story about how your specific priorities can influence and shape which universities you decide to apply to. So on the left is me, and on the right is one of my friends. And so you can see we have some priorities in common. So for example, if you look at the little stairs, the yellow stairs, we both wanted a university that would help us advance our careers. And if you look at the little globe with the plane, We're both interested in international education programs specifically. However, like I mentioned earlier, I only wanted a university that was in California, whereas my friend was open to universities across the US, so in any state. They also prioritized universities with programs that would prepare them to work in public service because they're also interested in government work and working with nonprofits that are connected to the US Department of State. And they also prioritized universities that have partnerships or connections with scholarship programs. I instead prioritized universities that offered student housing or housing that was close to the university, and universities that had good professional networks. So universities with a reputation of having a lot of active alumni that are still connected with one another. And so you can see even with the similarities in our priorities, how different the outcomes were. And you can see that my friend had a lot more universities on their list and a lot more universities that matched their priorities than I did. And you want your list of universities to look more like my friends than you do mine, because you want to apply to multiple universities in case you aren't accepted into one. And especially as an international student, being able to study in the US isn't something that's guaranteed. So you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket and apply to a single university in case you get rejected from that university. So while we're still talking about priorities, one thing you might want to think about when choosing which university to apply to is location. So that could be which region of the US are you interested in living and studying in, or you might have a specific state or a certain state that you're interested in living and studying. You might also want to think about whether or not you want a university or you want to live in an area that's in the city or in a more rural area. You might also want to prioritize and think about cost of attendance. So how much does tuition cost for international students? And are there any scholarships or fellowships available for international students? You might also want to think about and prioritize the mission and the vision of the university. This will tell you what the university cares about the most and what their priorities are. Universities usually have this available on their websites, and you can read it to see if it matches what you're looking for in a university and what your personal values are. So some other things you might want to think about prioritizing include ranking, which I'll talk about more after this slide, the faculty in your program, the length of the program. Some programs are shorter or longer than others. I think the shortest for MAs is about a year. Some MA programs are 2.5, 3 years long, right? You might also want to prioritize professional networks, any or partnerships that the university might have. You might also want to prioritize minimum requirements for applying. So for example, do they require you to submit GRE scores, which is something we'll talk about in a later session, what that is. Do they require recommendation letters? And if they do, how many recommendation letters do they require? You might also want to look at programs and services offered. For example, study abroad, Grad programs, which are programs that offer English language support for international students that might not have quite the level of English proficiency needed to stay at the university, but could reach that level with additional English language support. Professional development opportunities, a career center, or really good career services. Even a food pantry might be something that you might want to think about. And you definitely would want to think about support offered to international students. So like scholarships, fellowships, assistantships, grants, anything like that that can reduce the cost of tuition while you study at the university. So many people choose which universities to apply to and to attend based on how high the rank is or how low the admissions rate is. And I do not recommend doing this because it doesn't tell you if that university is a good fit for you or if it's a university that you'll enjoy studying at or a place that you'll really thrive in academically, professionally. I do recommend looking at rankings to help you get a general idea of what universities you could apply to or even to discover new universities that you could apply to. And if you do use ranking systems, I do recommend that you would just use this to create a very general list of where you apply to. And this could include your dream universities and also more safer options, which are places that you're more likely to get into, but you should still be thinking about your priorities. So these safe options don't have to be places that don't match what you're looking for at all. They should still match your priorities to some extent. You should definitely be doing extra research into every university that you put onto your list, looking at where they're located at, looking at whether or not they match your priorities, looking at what additional programs, supports they offer, and services and stuff like that. You should also be doing research into the ranking system of whatever ranking system you look at to see what kind of criteria they're using to decide what universities are at the top and what universities are at the bottom. And you should also be looking for ranking systems that rank your specific field or specific program of interest. A lot of ranking systems use a holistic approach versus a program specific approach to ranking. So you might see like Harvard or Yale at the top of lists globally or just in the US, but they might not necessarily have the best information technology or material sciences or political science programs. And you should, above all else, be realistic about your choices. So, like I mentioned earlier, you should definitely apply to your dream universities. However unlikely it might be that you get accepted to them, but you should also have safer options that you apply to in case you don't get accepted to those dream universities. And so here's a list of common search engines and ranking systems that you can use to help in your search. These are definitely not all of the search engines or ranking systems available online. And like I said earlier, they may not offer the rankings on your specific program. And if they don't, you should definitely do that additional research to find those systems. You can scan the QR code using your phone on the document, or you can scan the QR code using your phone and it'll go to a document that includes links to the search engines on the slide and the ranking systems. There are also articles on how to better understand ranking methodologies um, in the document once you scan the QR code. Okay. And then these are some other recommendations that I have in case, or that you can use to find the right universities for you. So some universities offer online open houses or preview days during application cycles, including over the summer, so right now. Some universities offer online advising appointments for prospective students, or they allow you to contact an admissions officer at the university that you can speak with. And both of these are really great opportunities to ask specific questions about the university that you might not find answers to on the website. Online open houses and preview days are especially good if you want to see the specific work that faculty and students are doing at the university and to ask them questions about their research and their work that they're doing while they're enrolled at the university or while they're teaching at the university. You should also visit and follow the social media pages of the universities that you want to apply to so you can see what kinds of programs and services they offer and what opportunities students are engaging in while they're enrolled at that university. Some universities might also have student representatives or student ambassador programs. And if you plan on applying to university and they do have this, you should definitely consider seeing if you can contact and talk to someone, to a current student, to see what their experience studying at the university has been like, and even better, seeing what their experience with the program that you're specifically interested in has also been like. You also want to get started on your search early, even if you don't plan on applying soon, because it'll give you an idea of what your options are and what your options look like. If you are applying soon, you should definitely pay attention to application cycle deadlines because that will tell you how much time you have until you start applying for universities. And in most cases, you want to apply as early as possible because in a lot of cases for a lot of universities, you might get priority consideration for scholarships and for fellowships, and you will be notified of your acceptance or rejection earlier than if you applied during the second and definitely during the third application cycle. You also should develop a backup plan since studying in the US, like I said earlier, is not guaranteed at all. You should make sure that you have a well-developed feasible backup plan, and that could mean studying or applying to other countries or applying to programs in Kazakhstan or even working now and then applying for that master's program or that PhD program later. And like I mentioned earlier, we'll be having a couple more presentations this week. The first or the second one after this one is about understanding application requirements and deadlines, where I'll go over common requirements in MA and PhD applications. So for example, I mentioned the GRE earlier. That's something that
Quintessence, I think I accidentally muted you. Sorry.
sorry, I'll just start over again. So we'll be having more presentations this week. The first one after this one is about understanding application requirements and deadlines, and I'll be